The one thing that I did do, which was different, is that when you're a mum and when you're a woman, you're a mum, you're a wife, you're a daughter, you're a sister. Everyone needs something from you. And I basically turned around and said to everyone, I'm not here. I'm not available. I had to even say to the husband, I can't deal with your grief. I know you're suffering, but I can't be a supportive wife because she was my favourite person in the world. And I'm broken.
Yeah.
So you have to heal yourself.
Yeah.
And then you can be helpful to other people.
Yeah.
So by healing myself, it was going to the gym, looking on the positive aspects of things, such as I've got 2 boys. What do they need? I just think of it as grief or just loss.
Yeah.
It's just a deep loss.
I'm Shreya Parekh, and you're listening to Empower Her, the podcast for busy women aged 35 and beyond. If you're feeling stuck and unfulfilled with your health and wealth, get ready to be empowered to take action. My guests and I will be providing you with knowledge, resources, and ideas to help you broaden your perspectives, learn more about yourself, and define your path to live your absolute best life. Be sure to hit that follow button to stay tuned with Empower Her and check out the valuable free resources available on the website to support your journey. How do you deal with the unimaginable loss and grief of losing a child? Today, my guest Monika Mandal and I will delve into the topic of grief, suicide, and how Monika has coped and is still coping with the loss of her child and her experience with the mental health services, whilst also maintaining a work-life balance. Monika is a passionate advocate of encouraging young girls to consider careers in science, technology, engineering and maths. She is a motivated trading risk director within the global investment banking markets and is also a content creator on Instagram, sharing mindset tips and fashion work style for the working woman. Join us on this insightful and emotional journey. Monika, welcome to the Empower Her podcast. It's fantastic to have you on. I'm excited to talk about all the things we're going to be talking about today, and that includes work-life balance, which feels like it's almost impossible, especially when you have children in the mix. Please could you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your journey from what you were doing to what you're doing now, and that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Monika Mandal. I work in investment banking as a director, running risk systems. I started my career many, many years ago on a graduate training program for Merrill Lynch as a business analyst. And I've basically, through the years, done different roles in different banks and progressed through the career ladder. I've taken a break to have 3 children. Career break, and then after the kids were a little bit older, about 5 or 6, I set up my own company, did some boutique investment banking consultancy, partnered with my husband. Him and I basically ran this consultancy for a few years, and then decided the model changed, and I had to. I wanted to go back into work and back on the career ladder again, so I took a contract role for a year and a half, and then I was asked to take a permanent role, which I did. I stayed in that organisation for probably about 7 or 8 years. And the current organisation I'm in at the moment, I've been there for 18 months. So, yes.
That's great. So I know you do a lot of other things as well with your Instagram, the clothes and things that you put on and showcase for everyone to see. And I know it's focused on, busy mums or mums over the age of 40, 50,
Sure.
Workwear as well. I know that that's one thing you do. How do you manage your time and really think about this work-life balance? I know you took a career break, and how did that come about? And how did you manage to also get back into work as well?
So I was fortunate enough to fall pregnant easily, and I had 3 kids under the age of 4. And quite simply, you can't get anyone to look after 3 children at that age.
Yeah.
On nurseries where there are different age levels. It was too expensive. No nanny or au pair. So we made a decision that it's not a problem. I'll stay at home and look after the kids. Actually, looking back on it now, it's like one of the happiest periods I had. So when the kids are older and they're all in therapy, they can blame the mother, who was a bit of a shouty, mad, clean freak, who would chase them around the house with baby wipes.
Yeah.
It's the usual kind of chaos that you have when you have 3 kids under 4. I find that when I have lots of things to do, I just, in my mind or in a piece of paper or in my diary, I allocate time to it. So whatever I want to achieve in that week. So it could be something simple such as working out. I train 4 times a week, and I make time to do that. As far as I'm concerned, it's only 4% of my total time of my week, if you take into consideration that you have to eat, you have to sleep, you have to go to work, you travel, blah, blah, blah. So in a week, 4%, so that's 4 hours of my time I spend looking after me, looking after myself. So I just basically, and then I kind of plan around work, when I'm going to go to the gym, weekends, so Saturday, Sunday I can do. When the kids were little, I would train at 7 o'clock in the morning to 8 because all the kids' clubs were started at 8:30 or 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I'd run home, jump in the shower, quick turnaround, and jump in the car at 8:30 to drive my daughter to Sutton for art club, or take the boys to cricket, or take, so basically always trying to make sure that I was free for the family when things are asked, when I need to do things. As I've obviously got older, that's not so much of an issue now. But work comes into play, so then I'll train potentially before work if I'm working from home, or after work. I'm more flexible. So if I say I'm going to train 4 times a week, it doesn't have to be Monday at 9 o'clock or what have you. Yeah, if you have meetings or things happen, but it will happen. I will try and make it happen that day or later on in the week.
So it's, I guess it's about the motivation of working out, saying I will work out 4 times a week. The timing can't necessarily be fixed all the time, and I'll just be flexible around what's happening that day.
Yeah, I mean, so what's quite funny is lots of friends will say to me, "Oh, how do you motivate yourself to go to the gym?" And
yeah,
I said,
that's a big thing.
I said, I don't motivate myself, I just go. And they look at me as if I'm a bit mad. I said, no. So I wake up on a Saturday morning, for example, and of course you can sit in bed and you can read the papers, you can drink your coffee. I get really kind of, what a waste of time. I need to do something. I need to do something productive. I need to do so. I'll just, I'm a morning person. I wake up early naturally. I'll jump out of bed. I don't put my alarm clock on snooze. It goes off, up I get. Weekends, I don't have an alarm clock, but I'm up by about 6:37. I kind of wake up, get dressed, drive to the gym. I try not to distract myself by doing housework or, empty the dishwasher. It can wait. I'm going to the gym. That's what I'm focused on.
Right.
So that's what I kind of, off I go. So so I don't think it's motivation. I just think it's part of my lifestyle. It's the same way as, you have to brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Twice a day, hopefully. I have to go to the gym.
Yeah. But I guess, I know you said it's not motivation, but there's something driving you to go to the gym though, right? Or whatever that thing is that you want to achieve. There's got to be something driving you. There must be some kind of why. Like, why do you want to do that?
So why I train is, if you want to say the motivating factor for why I train is mainly mental health. Even before my daughter passed away, I would go to the gym because it just helped me focus, clear my mind, think in a very strange way. So I'll go to the gym and I'll be on a machine or something. So I'm just pedaling or I'm walking, and my mind kind of doesn't think. I don't think about anything. Now, I'm not very good at meditating. I've tried to meditate and I can't really do it. But I do find that when I go to the gym, I can clear my mind and just focus on walking or train, whatever it is, whatever exercise I'm doing. And that helps just give me balance, I think. Just kind of, relaxes me. Because when people say to me, what do you do that's relaxing? Not a lot, apart from sleep. I'm not very good at relaxing.
Yeah.
But so I guess that's my motivation. I just want to help my mind feel healthy.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. So exactly. And it's about you. It's more from the mental health side of things. You're using it for that, but at the same time, it obviously keeps you fit and healthy as well. Your body fit and healthy as well.
Yes, and also vanity, because I do like blogging and I do like my clothes.
Yeah.
I like to stay the same size.
Yeah.
because being petite, as you well know, it's quite difficult dressing petite bodies.
Of course.
And the classic thing is when I put on weight, it goes straight to my tummy where I don't want it to go. It's the area that I like the least. So by doing a bit of exercise and stuff, I kind of stay in shape.
Yeah.
I feel strong. So I deadlift. So for a small woman like me, I deadlift about 1.5 times my body weight, actually 1 3/4 or something. So it helps me feel that physically strong, I can shift the bag of rice that's in the kitchen or what have you, but also mentally.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I mean, someone asked me, a friend turned around and said, would you say you're mentally strong? And I said, no, not really. I don't think I'm mentally strong. And she's like, oh, I'd say you are. I said, okay. But I said, it's not a question of it's not a question, do I feel mentally strong? Am I mentally? I just do. I am how I am. And when life throws some curveballs at you, I just deal with it as best as I can. If that means showing strength, I can't just being strength. But I don't know anything different. I don't know how to think or behave any differently. I just kind of get on with it. I think it's my personality has been. I've in my older years, I've decided people fall into two camps. You're either half full or half empty. And I've always been a half full. I've always been an optimist. I've always looked on the brighter side of things. Okay, it's raining. Oh, well, never mind. At least it'll clear up eventually.
Yeah.
Or, it's just I can't help but be positive and see the positive side of things.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your clothes journey. I know you on Instagram, you're very good at showing, workwear, especially for petite women like us. And I think it's great because I instantly drew, because I'm very, small myself, and it's so difficult to find the right fit, the right clothes. And you're right, when you put on weight, it's always around your waist. And then that affects what you're wearing. And when you're petite and you put on that weight here, for me, it's more difficult and more challenging.
So the whole thing about the clothes is it makes me feel confident. I'm very small, 5'0". I weigh 50 kilos or whatever it is. And I work in a really male-dominated industry. And the men around my work are all quite tall. I'll walk into a room, there will be 30 men and me.
Right.
And I can't... When I walk into a room, I can't compete on size or height or stature because it's like they take up a lot of space. So I like to dress and feel confident so that if I'm dressed beautifully, if I feel my outfit's strong, that I'm strong and I'm confident speaking and presenting myself in a meeting, not shy to give my input. So the Instagram blogging thing started when I took a career break. So I was at home with the kids, and then I decided to go back to work. And I was looking around, and it was kind of like, I can't see any female, petite, brown bloggers. They were mainly young, or they were white, beautiful women, beautiful but young. I mean, like in their 20s. So I was like, okay, and it was more kind of, is this okay what I'm wearing? It was more kind of asking the question rather than saying this is what you should wear. And then before you know it, you just get like a following, it's a community who are really supportive. So you've got all these crazy, fashion obsessed women. I'm like, oh, it's so nice to meet like-minded women who love what they wear. And now one of my little hobbies is if you're wandering around London, I always like look around and spot the blogger. And you can spot the bloggers. You always count. My friends goes, no, you can't. Because I can. And then she's like, well, how can you? I said, because their entire outfit, all the details will tally. So the jewellery, the earrings, the belt, the handbag, the shoes, the clothes. Right. It will all tie in. That's how you spot the bloggers.
Yeah.
So yes. So it's my little obsession. But it's fun. It's quite a nice thing to do.
Yeah. No, it is. I love it because I can resonate for sure with, brown, petite, and then work. I don't go into an office anymore. I don't wear workwear, but it's not all just workwear. Sure. I know that you do other clothes as well.
So I do casual, going out with girls, evening wear, what have you, sportswear when I go to the gym. But for me, I mean, I do like doing the work and the suits and the formal business wear because I'm in an office, and I missed it during COVID.
Yeah.
I really did miss the dressing up. But even during COVID, I dressed up for work. So I was working from home. I'd still get up. I would tie my hair, do my hair, put a little bit of lipstick on, wear a smart top. Because if I didn't feel dressed for work, I wasn't in the right mindset. So I know friends who it's like, oh yeah, if we didn't have our cameras on or wore pajamas. I can't work in my pajamas. My pajamas for sleeping in.
Yeah.
Empty dishwasher is fine. But it's just, for me, I need to, if I get up for work, I've got to get up, get dressed, get showered, what have you, and wear casual, smart, what have you. But get dressed for work.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, out of your night clothes. I think there's something in that, to be fair, because I feel like, I don't know, it's probably an individual thing, but if I woke up and started working in my night clothes, automatically, I don't know if I'd be as productive and I'd feel as, confident or whatever. I think my brain would start thinking, hold on, you should be in relax mode, or, taking some time out or taking a step back to get to bed rather than being focused on your work.
Yeah, because it was COVID that taught me these, that made me think. So someone would say, how do you motivate yourself to work out at home?
Yeah.
And I was like, I said, it was really hard. I said, so I had like a kettlebell and I had some dumbbells. And what I realised was I was so used to getting up, getting dressed into your gym clothes, driving to the gym. And that the act of going somewhere or getting ready to do something, to go somewhere, obviously we couldn't because we were in COVID. So I had to think, right, so I would make my journey going down the staircase a little slower and be like, right, I'm going to work out. This is what I'm going to do. And this is where I'm, and then you get your little mat out, or maybe go in the garden if the weather was nice. But I think there's an awful lot to be said for when you work from home, have a space dedicated to working. That's just for work.
Yeah.
Table, desk, computer, what have you. That's not in your bedroom. Bedrooms are for sleeping. Just have areas in your home, in your life, that are for work, sleep, gym, what have you. I don't know, entertainment. It's just I think that's quite important to kind of get that without going crazy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So you mentioned that you work out for your mental health, and you have some of your friends asking you how does that correlate to your kind of mental health and well-being, and they view you as being mentally strong and things like that. Do you think there is that direct correlation, and do you think going to the gym as much as you do, or have done for a certain length of time, has made you more mentally resilient? Do you think that it's affected your resilience?
As you know, my daughter passed away.
Yeah.
She died at the age of 14, and the first thing I had to do was, on the day that she died, we found her very early in the morning, and it's probably about 8-9 o'clock in the evening, and I had to have a shower because I hadn't showered all day, and it was really hard to do anything on that day. So I went and had a shower, and I said to myself, this is one of the hardest things you're going to have to do, is have a shower after she's gone. But each day, you take each day as it comes, and you do what you can do each day as it comes, whatever it is. The first thing being a shower, just looking after yourself and giving yourself a shower, brushing your teeth or what have you. And then I think it was about 2 days after she'd passed away, my personal trainer got in touch because he obviously heard what had happened. And he said, how you doing? He goes, Mon, can you go for a walk? And I was like, what? No, I don't want to go for a walk. And he's like, okay, because you might not feel like it now. He goes, but, if you get a chance, have a think and see if you go for a walk. All right. And then he was right. It's like, okay. So I think the third day I went for a walk. And then I think it was about a week after she passed away, I went to the gym. I went to the gym with him. with my trainer. I went to see him, and I remember saying, I don't want to work out. He said, that's okay, no problem. Got me a cup of coffee, had a bit of a chat. So that was just to explain, when you are that grief-stricken, there's an awful lot of crying going on. You eat a little bit or not a bit, but I didn't want to. I couldn't just stay in bed. I couldn't just stay in bed and cry all the time. I had to feed the boys, husband. We had to cook. Had to keep some kind of normality going. And on the Monday. So she died on the Friday. On the Monday, we took our eldest to university. He got a place at university, and he said, I have to go. We're like, fine. So we drove him. We took him to Cambridge. And we took Adam with us. We were there for like 3-4 days. Then we came back down to Purley, back home. And so this is now, I'm back in Purley, and I'm like, right, now I need to get some routine. I need to start doing something normal every day. And that was the gym for me. So the very first time I saw Mike, a week after she passed away, had a cup of coffee, chatted to me for a bit, did some stretches, then goes, hey Mom, do you want to try doing some weights? So I was like, looked at him, all right then. And basically it was no weights, it was just a bar or something. And just did a really gentle workout. And that just helped. You are the same person. You haven't changed, but you do. I mean, grief does manifest itself in kind of physical symptoms as well.
Yeah.
And I think that just helped me think, okay, so I was on leave from work, and so it helped fill my day. And I'd go to the gym. Often I'd be crying on the running machine or on the bike or whatever it is. And people notice or they don't notice. It didn't matter. I don't, I was just within myself.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't had the exercise of the gym. I mean, how would you feel your day? I don't know. Other people have different ways of doing it. But yeah, for me, it really helped.
Yeah.
Through the grief.
Yeah.
And the pain of losing your youngest child.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know obviously, I can't imagine what that would feel like or be like. But as a mother, obviously going through that and the circumstances around that, and, for me, it's about raising awareness of what's going on with children now, these days as well, especially, and how parents deal with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was only recently, actually, I had a conversation with a friend who'd lost a parent to suicide.
Right.
And that was different, obviously, because they were a parent, it was an older person. But I've never asked him, I hadn't asked him this question, and I've been wanting to ask for the last 2.5 years. And the question was, were there any signs?
Yeah.
And he turned around and said, no. He goes, I can recount the day to you. It was like a normal day. We did this, we did that, we did whatever. And then he went away and he took his own life. And that's pretty much, that resonated with me because we had a completely normal day, evening even. So, Ryan was going to university. So on the Friday, Sarah came home from school and was messing about, trying to get my attention. I'd been working all day. Work had been completely manic. I hadn't started packing for Ryan, and I promised him I'd start. So my eldest he's slightly on the autism spectrum. So doing something like packing your bag is quite difficult for him.
Yeah.
But once he's done it, once you've shown him, then he'd be fine. But the first, not knowing what to put in the suitcase.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's about 6:00 in the evening. Finally logged off work, and I was packing the suitcase, and Sarah was coming in, and she was like, what are you doing, Mum? Teasing me. Oh, Mummy's packing your suitcase. Just generally being the youngest child and being annoying.
Yeah.
And then she turned, I remember saying to her, don't worry, Sarah, I'll do exactly the same for you when you go to university. And she goes, okay. And then she said, can I help with anything? I said, no, you're okay, you're fine. I just need to think. I just need to think of what to do. I just need to focus. And she said, all right. And off she went. And then I could hear her playing guitar in her room. So she was quite a keen guitarist. And she was playing the guitar. In the evening, we had dinner, family. My mum and dad came over. Completely normal. And then, cutting a long story short, we basically had dinner. She went up to her room. So did Ryan. So did Adam. Grandparents were downstairs. Me and my husband and my mum and dad were chatting for a bit. Came for time to my parents to leave. All the kids came downstairs, said goodbye to their grandparents, as they do, you know. And then they went all upstairs. And then finally I went to bed about 10. And I noticed that my Nurofen was missing. I was like, oh, that's strange. You know, I had two blister packs with, I don't know, 3 in, 2 in, pretty much hardly anything left. And I remember thinking, oh, where are my Nurofens gone? Maybe Sarah's got them. Because she would come and take, she's 14, she would come and take meds as and when she needed. Because she suffered from quite bad backache. She had a backache and we couldn't find the underlying source of the pain. Anyway, so it's 10:30, and I'm off work the next day because we're driving to Cambridge for Ryan. So I went into her room and said, "You're right, Sarah. You know, the Nurofen got." She goes, "Yeah, just a bit of a headache or something." She said, "Oh, all right." And I said, "Night, baby." And she goes, "I'm sleeping." I said, obviously, you know, she wasn't. And I said, "Okay." And that was it. That was the last, you know, the last I spoke with her. I went back to my room, went to bed. Adam apparently went into her room a few hours later. These kids stayed up late. They always slept late, you know, go to bed later than I did. And he would ask for a ruler. She apparently got up, gave it to him, and he went to bed. We found her the next morning, and she had taken prescription medication that she'd been given for the back pain. And she was gone. We were on the phone to the ambulance. They told us to do CPR, and I asked my husband not to. We tried a little bit, then I said, "No, just stop. She's gone. And then, you know, coroners came, police, and what have you came to the house. The problem with teenagers, I think, also adults, because adults do this, but I think in teenagers' viewpoint is they don't understand the value of life. She basically found a permanent solution to a temporary problem. In that whatever she was feeling, she wanted to identify as gender neutral. And so everyone would call her Sailor, but I was allowed to call her Sarah. At school, I'd said, fine, call her Sailor. When I'd fill out forms for her at school, I'd write Sailor on it. I turned around and said that, you know, you're 14. I have to say you're female on forms. But when you get bigger, when you get older, when you're 18, okay, if you want to change it to something, we can talk about changing it officially. Yeah. So at school, all her parents' evening and stuff, they'd write Sailor, but her official record still said Sarah.
Yeah.
And that was the kind of, you know, discussion that we had, because my view was not that, oh, it's a phase, she'll get out of it, but there's still time. You're only 14. You're still young. And it wasn't that I wasn't taking it seriously. I just wasn't moving the earth to fit something she'd asked for. I wasn't, you know, did I go and get a passport check? Now, in hindsight, if someone said to me, do you know something? If you went and changed her passport to say Sailor and she would still be here, of course I would have done that. But obviously you can't, you know, you can't, as a parent, you can't think, shoulda, woulda, coulda, if I'd done this, because, you know, they are an individual. They have their own mind. They, you know, she did what she did because she felt compelled to at that moment in time for whatever reason. And I think what's I had got her therapy. She'd seen a therapist. She'd seen counsellors at school. She'd seen a therapist, part of Croydon Council, but she was waiting for a CAMS referral. So CAMS is Children and Adolescent Mental Health Services that are part of the NHS that provide support for children who need it. So her brothers had both been diagnosed as autistic. It took an awful lot of time and talking to schools to finally get a diagnosis. There's a long waiting list because they're stretched on resources. So Sarah was due to see camps. She actually did see them. She saw them on a few occasions in June and July, even in August. But they were just, we're doing referral, we'll do and they kept pushing out the timelines, which I think is a desperately bad situation to be in. You're giving a young person hope and then not following through with it. So I think, I think it's important that people talk about suicide. It's very thankful. It's not that common, but there's still too many cases. There are too many young people taking their own lives. As soon as she died, we sat at school. We went to school. Their school. So I want you to tell her that she's. And the headmaster said, "Oh, shall I just say she passed away?" I said, "No, don't say she passed away like she had some kind of disease that took her in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
I want to say that she took her own life. And if it offends anyone, I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm not ashamed of what she did. As a family, we supported her, we loved her, we did whatever we could, but it wasn't enough or it wasn't right. I don't know what that was. I can't answer that. But I felt it would be dishonest not to just say she took her own life.
Yeah.
And also, she wrote on a post-it note, "Please, my name is Sailor." That's the only thing she wrote. So everything, the funeral service has been written. If I write about her on blogs, I always call her Sailor. I always refer to as they as them. But I'm allowed to speak and say Sarah because it doesn't come naturally to me to say Sailor.
Yeah.
But so still do that. But I think. I know the school had counselling session for the kids, and they talked about it. I don't know what to do apart from being honest with what's happened.
Yeah.
Middle class. It's a middle class family. With resources, with there weren't any, there wasn't any abuse, there wasn't any extenuating circumstances. It's kind of like it can happen to anyone. I think is the thing. But yeah,
it's worrying. Thank you for sharing that. And I feel, I mean, one thing I do want to ask you is, do you think it was an accident? Do you think that it wasn't meant to turn out that way?
No. She meant to do it. Sarah was very bright. I mean, so my husband and I would like to think that our children got their intelligence from us. No, all three of them are far cleverer and far brighter than us two to put together. Sorry, Jay. In my view, and for example, Adam wasn't very well. He'd been taking some migraine medication. He'd been taking it for like 3-4 days, and he was getting hallucinations. And I read through the side effects on the pamphlet that comes with the meds. And I read through it. I was working, so I was on the call, and I was like half reading it. So I hadn't focused up. But then I stopped and I read it again. I couldn't find anything. She came home from school, read the side effects, and says, "Mum, here it is. It states here, hallucinations are part of this side effect here," and she found it in a whole load of document, writing that I skipped it completely.
Yeah.
But anyway, we then had to call the emergency doctor and get his meds changed. But she was very good at looking at details and assimilating facts and understanding the impact of meds or what have you. She took something called metafemic acid. Metafemic acid is given to young women for period pain. So we'd given it to her, and you can take it. It's not like taking Nurofen that can be addictive, because Nurofen's got the ibuprofen painkiller, so you can get addicted to it. So it's a non-analgesic painkiller that you can take say, for like a week during your period, or you could take it for 30 days. You could take it every single day, and it helps build up some kind of resistance to the pain. She didn't take it. She took it for like a week and said it wasn't, if her period pain was 10, it would drop it to a 9. It didn't have that much of an impact on her. So she didn't.
Wow,
she didn't
okay.
like the metformin acid wasn't working very well, and she said. So the doctor said, no, you've got to try it. It takes time, so you have to try it for a couple of months. So the GP had given her 90 days worth of meds. So
Right.
so 30, 90 tablets in sense. And because she was only taking it like a week's worth, she only used up 21 tablets. So she had 60 odd left, 60, 70 tablets left. On the night she took her own life, she took 60 tablets along with, so she took 60 metformic acid, which wouldn't have possibly, if you Google it, there have been no known cases of suicide using metformic acid. So she wouldn't have got it from Google, or she wouldn't. But she also took omeprazole, which is something she was given to stop nausea, which is, again, very widely prescribed. By taking that, she wouldn't vomit. So she was trying to keep the meds down. And then she took some Nurofen because she was worried it might hurt. And so that's why I've had, this obviously has been through my mind several times. So she popped out the tablets. She put the empty blister packets in the bin. She then took the tablets. I would not have the strength to do that. I wouldn't have, so when someone says to me it was by accident, it was not by accident. You don't do that by accident. You definitely meant to do it.
Yeah.
Did she plan to do it? I don't think she planned to do it. That's the thing. I don't think she had I'm going to do it on this day. I think that she impulsively decided on that night, for whatever reason, that she was going to do that. You hear of stories of people who have tried to take their own life, they haven't managed it, then they're in a coma, and then they pass away 5 days later or 3 days later or something, and the trauma and it must be awful for everyone involved. So in a way, I was like, she did it. She did it properly.
How did you as a family deal with it? And what did you do to deal with the grief? And it's an ongoing process. I know it's not something that, right, okay, I'm done with it. I've dealt with the grief, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think grief goes on forever, in my view. I don't think it's something that, right, you know what, I'm over it, and it's gone. I have no grief anymore. And as a family, how did you deal with that? As a mother, how do you deal with that? And also, coming from an South Asian background, how does that manifest? So,
my parents have been great. Obviously they've lost a granddaughter.
Yeah.
It's for them, they have faith, so they would pray or have prayer meetings with their family and friends and what have you. I'm not religious, so I didn't do that. But as a family,
even her brothers.
So what keeps me going is that I've still got 2 boys. So what we try and do is that we do talk about her, in that, she would have liked this or she would not like this. She would have complained bitterly of having to walk here. As a family, she passed away in September, and we went away at Christmas. We went away kind of late December, so I don't know, 27th, 28th, because I couldn't do Christmas. I just didn't want to do Christmas. I didn't feel like it. And
sorry, just to note, this is September 2021.
So September 2021. So we just, and I didn't want to go away either, but Jason was like, no, we should go away as a family. It's like, okay. So we went away as a family, and that sort of helped because we were just together. We just did family things. I don't know, just went to restaurants, ate pizza, went for a walk on the beach because we went to Madeira, did some hiking, nothing too difficult, just some walks,
Yeah.
and just did family holiday stuff, because it was important just to be a family. I don't think that was the new thing that we started doing. So every year now we go away as a family at Christmas. We go away, but I think it's very difficult with the men and the boys. They I'm forever crying. I've turned into a boot, for want of a better term, a crybaby.
Yeah.
In that, because previously people would say to me, "Yeah, you don't really cry very often." I said, "No, I'm not super emotional."
Do you think social media has a huge impact on children's mental health now?
I don't think it's social media per se. I think it's Google. I think it's the whole smartphone thing.
Right.
Because they have access to too much information. They have access to so much information in a certain way that you need to be an adult to be able to understand it and take from it.
Yeah.
Your brain needs. So physically, a teenager's brain has not formed all the neurological pathways. It's still growing. It's still adjusting. It's still maturing.
Yeah.
And I don't think you get that at 18 either. It's not suddenly by magic at 18. Yes, you're an adult. You've got an adult brain.
Exactly.
I think
Well, it's still 18.
Exactly.
It's still got that teen in there.
Yes.
So yeah.
So it takes time. So you've got the physical side, yes, it takes time, but you've also got maturity and you've also got life experience. So the problem with teenagers, I think, or my kids, oh my God, they love to argue with me.
Yeah.
So, oh no, actually it's this fact or that fact. It's like, oh, I forgot. Google comes along, gives a fact, and I might have misstated that. I don't know. Butter is a bad fact. Good. It doesn't matter. Whatever the fact is, and they have to argue with you. Get Google to prove that they are right. But as fast as they get the knowledge at their fingertips for using Google or social media, as fast as it comes in, it goes out as fast. So it was something you mentioned earlier. You said that you like to take notes. You like to write down. And absorb information when you take notes.
Yeah.
So I'm the same. When I go to a meeting and if I want to concentrate and I want to take away, I write stuff down.
Yeah.
And so by writing it down, it's a physical act of writing and it goes into my memory and it gives me time to think about it, read it, rewrite it, whatever it is I do with it. But it's given me some time. If you just type something to Google and you read it, bang, the information's come back to you. You've read it. You haven't had that much time. So you need time, in my view, to understand or absorb information. And with this smartphone generation, everything's too quick.
Yeah.
It's like they have no patience. And sweeping generalisations here, sorry.
Yeah.
It's this, having time to absorb information, understand it. Sarah wanted to identify as gender neutral. What did you mean by that? Why? Why was it? And again, it's absolutely fine to have that feeling or have that, but you need time to get used to it or understand it. And at 14, it's like no time at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not, I feel like there's so much information out there now, like you said, and kids are absorbing all this information on social media, on Google, whatever that might be. And a lot of it isn't necessarily true. And they just take it as face value.
Yes.
And
it must be right.
That must be right. It's Google. Or that must be right. It's such and such influencer or such and such person on TikTok or Instagram or whatever that might be. And they can't make the connection. Hold on a minute. That might not be true. Let me go and find out if it could be true and figure these things out. And, you saying that Sarah Saylor wanted to identify as gender neutral. And yes, I know you gave her the space to do that, but also you wanted her the space to think about it as well, which is fine. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
There's absolutely, as a parent, I think That is absolutely the right thing to do, because when children come and say all sorts of things to you, you know, it could be, I don't know, it could be all sorts of things.
I mean,
not necessarily to do with their gender, their identity. It could be something completely different, but you don't just take it as, right, okay, that's, you know, that's it. Let's go with that.
If you also, I've been married 22 years, nearly 22 years. And in those 22 years, I'm sure my husband can vouch for this, I've changed.
Yeah.
I've changed as a person.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse, who knows, but you do change. As you grow older, your personality changes, the way you look at things change. And I think it's great the way that young people have a view on life, on how they want it to be, or, you know, and they're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But the point is, you have to be open to the idea that your viewpoint may change.
Yeah.
It's, you know, you can't assume that everything that is the way it is right now is going to stay like that. So I think that, you know, it's what you think now. It's absolutely fine to think that.
Yeah.
But I have to be open to the idea that your views, society's views, whatever views, are open to change and be very
involved. Absolutely. And that's what, you know, that's with anything. But, you know, I'd say your food choices.
Yes.
You know, it's like sometimes, you know, my kids are, I hate that, I don't like to eat that. And then a few months later, actually, I quite like this now.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, their tastes have changed, their view on it, or whatever, I don't know, or they've had a meal that has that in there and now they like it because, you know.
So I always consider myself to be a fussy eater. And my husband goes, "You're not fussy." I go, "Why?" He goes, "No, because you eat pretty much everything as long as it's tasty."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "You turn your nose up when it doesn't taste good." I'm like, fair enough. It seems like, and that it's a completely different way of looking at it as being fussy, because if fussy is negative or implies that you don't eat that. And I've got friends, oh my God, who are fussy, and you're like, really, you're a grown ass adult and you won't eat, I don't know, aubergines or broccoli or whatever it is. Yes, so yeah, I think. There is you have to be open to the idea that things change, and you have to be fluid to that. Yeah.
What would your advice be to parents, to women going through the journey, you know, with their teenagers or children from a mental health perspective, and, you know, going through that grief as well? What would you say, some things that helped you perhaps could help them? What did you do? And are there any resources that they can use? Is there anything you did that could help other parents, women, mothers?
So the one thing that I did do, which was different, is that when you're a mum and when you're a woman, you're a mum, you're a wife, you're a daughter, you're a sister. You know, everyone needs something from you.
Yeah.
And I basically turned around and said to everyone, I'm not here. I'm not available. You have to leave me alone.
Yeah.
And which is very hard in an South Asian family.
Yeah.
So I had to turn around and say to my mum, I can't deal with you. I can't deal with the phone calls asking me to come round or you coming round. I just can't deal with it. I had to even say to the husband, I can't deal with your grief. I know you're suffering, but I can't be a supportive wife because she was my favourite person in the world. And I'm broken.
Yeah.
So you have to heal yourself.
Yeah.
And then you can be helpful to other people.
Yeah.
So hopefully I wish this not to happen to anyone else, obviously. So by healing myself, it was going to the gym. It was looking on the positive aspects of things, such as I've got 2 boys. What do they need? They are allowed to ask something from me.
Yeah.
They're permitted. I have lots of great friends, and again, you know, my good friends would come take me out because they knew I can't make a decision. You can't plan too far ahead.
Yeah.
You have to take each day as it comes. And you take each day as it comes, and once you've done one day, that's a tick. You're like, okay, I've managed it. So I think now, the other day I did, I don't know why I did it. I went on Google, how many days since the 17th of September 2021? And it was like 895. And I was like, I've survived 895 days without her.
Yeah.
And just the way of looking at it, you just take each day as it comes. Because what's the alternative? I don't want to take my own life. I don't want to not, I have to carry on living the best way I can. So you have to heal yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I mean, you're right. You can't help others until you've helped yourself. But I'm sure you're still going through that journey of healing anyway. I don't know if you would ever heal from that, I don't
think
know.
Time helps. Time is what did one of the things that the burden of grief will always be there, but with time it becomes easier to bear.
Yeah.
And that was something that I read many years ago after my brother died, and that was so he's been gone now, coming up to 19 years, and it has that's definitely over the years, over the time. Obviously it's a bit more acute with a child, but
that's what I mean. I think, I don't know, obviously the grief is different depending on who it is.
Yeah, it's
right?
different for everyone.
Of course.
Everyone
and
grieves
exactly, and everyone grieves differently, and depending on whether it's your child, your husband, your mother, your father, your brother, sister, whoever it is, it comes out in a different way. But I don't know, for me, I feel like when it's a child, when it's your child, it's a big thing.
Yeah, it's more acute, I guess.
Yeah.
But the same could be said for if you miscarry.
Yeah.
And you have a stillborn child, or
of course,
or a baby.
Yeah.
There are. But I just think of it as grief or just loss.
Yeah.
It's just a deep loss. The one thing that I did learn quite early on was not to do magical thinking. So magical thinking is when you potentially feel like you could have done something. So 3-4 months before she passed away, I contacted children's CAMS. I'd contacted private healthcare providers. Private healthcare providers would not offer her psychotherapy, even though I had private healthcare, because she had self-harmed. When you self-harm, you become a higher risk of suicide, apparently. So, which I didn't know at the time, but the private healthcare corporations will not take that risk because they don't want to be sued. Which is, it doesn't give the children the help that they need.
Yeah.
It's like if the charities that helped me after Sarah passed away were Young Minds.
Mm-hmm.
I read a lot on their websites and did some research. I also spoke to I don't even know what they're called. Oh, I think they're called SOBS, actually. SOBS, which is a suicide bereavement service, who contacted me and had calls with me, I think, about up to a year after she passed away. It was just someone to talk to try to empathise with, because loss by suicide is slightly different because it's done on their own hand. But I think, you just have to think of what... It's okay to be sad, it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel the loss. And then look on the positive and what you can do.
Do you think the system's flawed with children, or perhaps even adults, that really need help with whatever's going on in their life? Especially, for me, I think if a child is self-harming, or if an adult is self-harming, then there's they need to be seen. There's alarm bells. There's serious alarm bells, and they need to be, it needs to be scene too.
Yes, exactly. I did take her to A&E. I did take her to CAMS. I took her to the doctor. I mean, I did. I looked at it. Why did I look at this? I wrote it up because CAMS got in touch with me after she passed away, and were basically saying, we ought to do an inquest, not an inquest, an inquiry or investigation, whatever they want to call it. I said, fine. And there were gaps, such as she had been taken to A&E in Sutton in June because she got drunk. So she met a friend in the park, got not a little bit drunk, really drunk. Mm-hmm. She'd never taken alcohol before, to my knowledge, but apparently she had at friends' houses. I wasn't aware. I don't drink.
Yeah.
My husband does, but I don't. And we don't have alcohol in the house for no reason. We just don't have it in the house.
Yeah.
And long story short, she when I asked her after she got, when we picked her up from A&E, I said to her, "Did you know how much you were taking?" And she went, "Yes." And I said, "Okay, how much is in the shot?" And she goes, 10 mil or 30 mil. I think that I don't even know, whatever the number is.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She knew how many mils of alcohol was in the shot. So I said, okay. She took. She managed to drink. It was a bottle of Lucozade, a 500 ml bottle of Lucozade, threw away half of it, or drank half the Lucozade, and topped it up with vodka. So she had 250 ml vodka to 250 ml Lucozade. She proceeded to drink all of it, and obviously got to a really bad state.
Yeah.
Her friend was with her. The ambulance was called. Police were called. They were picked up from Sutton, and then she got taken to hospital, and we picked her up. The doctors, social services, what have you. The A&E said that they'd been logged with social services and they would be in touch, and that the police would be notified or the school would be notified. The police were not notified. CAMS were not. The police should be notified because it's underage drinking. So I think the police knew, but they were like, okay, it's okay, she's fine. Parents picked her up, they're done, which is fair enough, I guess. But healthcare professionals should kind of think, oh, hang on a second, let me look at her medical notes. Oh, look, she was in A&E 2 weeks preceding with self-harm issues. The wounds weren't really, really severe, but they were bad enough that she was brought into A&E. 2 weeks that she's got very drunk. So you telling me this is normal behaviour? Of course they said it was. She's just being a teenager and she was rebelling. I argued the fact. And they weren't. So the flaw in the system would be that they need to be more proactive in when you see, because you look at the kid, you look at the family, nice middle class family, clothes are clean, she looks fine, no signs of abuse, no bruises, no broken bones, no sexual abuse, all of those things are like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
It can't be possibly anything mental.
Yeah.
It's like they don't look for mental health issues. So I had therapy after she passed away, and even my therapist said, because how many times was she seen by CAMS, Mom? And I said 4. She goes, 4 times she was seen for an hour and a half, 2 hours, so we'll say 6 hours of senior people to speak with her, and they did not pick up on that she was a suicide risk. How the hell are parents supposed to? So I think, if you feel that your child is not well mentally, I think just have to keep persisting and following up and being a nuisance.
Yeah.
And having to, be a pain in the neck at the GPs, at, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, like the GP, our GP, one GP was very sweet with her, and he said, right, I'm going to, because he heard that she wanted to be gender neutral. He knew that she was having back pain and she was having trouble with her periods. So he made an appointment to see her for an hour after hours. So a long appointment, so 45 minutes or something. So I took her after 5 o'clock, because it's like GP's nightmare to get an appointment.
Yeah.
He reached out, he tried to give us some help, and for whatever reason, I think he gave her the prescription for the mefenamic acid, and a prescription for the pill. Again, she only took the pill for like a week and she'd passed away by then. But there was lots of things that we were trying to do to address the physical, and the mental wasn't taken seriously enough, I don't think.
Yeah. I think the the physical as well, really. There's, I'm not going to go into it too much now, but women's physical health is also not being acknowledged to the extent that it needs to. But that's something else.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yes.
But I read a statistic. I can't quote it because I can't fully remember.
Sure.
But I know that the rate of suicides amongst the young is shooting up, and it's at an all-time high, and it's a serious thing. And I don't think the level of support has caught up at all.
No.
And that's where...
I know you mentioned social media, and I said no, Google. I should actually change it to WhatsApp. So WhatsApp, which we all use, just like I did some mentoring, and I had to get a DBS check, and I also had to do some mentoring training courses, and these were kids who were under 18, and I was told you cannot contact them on WhatsApp, share mobile phone numbers, social Facebook, Instagram, blah blah. And I went, what's wrong with WhatsApp? He goes, oh, well, because it's like social media.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? I was like, okay, fine. Not a problem. Don't contact the child. Yeah. And during COVID, all the kids, my kids, were on WhatsApp groups with their friends.
Yeah.
And the volume of traffic and nonsense on these chats that keep going. I mean, like, it's just another channel to pick up information, not pick up information, or what have you.
It's the same with Snapchat.
Right.
It's, it's as a parent, I find my stress levels are super amplified, and a lot of it's around social media and tech, and a lot of the arguments are focused on that.
Yeah, it's phone time, screen time. Yeah. If it's not the laptop or PC, it's the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, exactly. Every household does the same thing, and they each have these phones that they have in their pockets all the time. I mean, I was saying to someone said to me, "Oh, I couldn't get hold of you." I was like, "Yeah, I put my phone down." I'm pretty bad. I'm on my phone a reasonable amount.
Yeah.
And I have to now make a point of putting it and walking away and explain to people, so what? I'm not dead. If it was an emergency, we'll ring it. Nothing is an emergency. You don't need to get hold of everyone that minute, that second.
Yeah.
And we have this. So you can tell the kids to get off your phone, but if you're doing it yourself, it's difficult to have that conversation. Technology has improved our lives, sure. And it's a new way. But I don't think that parents have caught up with how to manage.
No.
I know I was horrified when I saw friends of mine feeding their kids dinner, and they all had iPads. They had iPads at dinner time because they wouldn't sit still and eat their dinner. So they were watching Peppa Pig or something while eating. And I'm like, that's just crap parenting.
Yeah.
I can say that. They're good friends of mine. And I said, that's just, and they were like laughing because, no. But both of them were working, kind of exhausted, trying to just need to get the kid. At least they were sitting at a table, I suppose, is the one. And at least they're eating home-cooked food. So I get it. We all have to balance the act of, work-life balance, tech, what have you. But I think it's quite important to say, right, let's get back to the basics. Sleep, eat, water, exercise.
Yeah. That's great. Monika, thank you so much for being on the Empower Her podcast. It's been great to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you for sharing your journey.
Thanks for tuning in to Empower Her. I hope today's episode has left you feeling inspired and motivated to make a positive difference in your world. Please follow the podcast and share it with anyone who will find it helpful. Until next time, keep striving for positive change and greatness for all women.